Hello everybody, my name is Hannah and this is Pepper and Pine, and I apologize for the lighting. It is almost dusk and hence the need for artificial lights, which, aren't always the best. Alright, so today I want to share with you a little bit about my main lessons versus unit study approach. And the way that we're doing our unit study is very similar to a main lesson block. And a main lesson block is something that you're going to find in Waldorf homeschools or in Waldorf classrooms, because this is the basic approach to doing lessons. And the way this happens, and I will explain how you'll find it in a Waldorf school first, and then what we do to modify that. The first thing that you'll notice in a Waldorf school is that you'll have one teacher who is teaching from 1st to 8th grade. And that teacher is responsible for all the subjects except for foreign language and music and a type of movement art, movement dance called eurythmy. There's also a special teacher for that. I think that rounds out the special teachers, except if there might also be a special teacher for the handiwork, so any knitting or sewing or woodworking, there'll be another teacher for that. And those lessons typically are in the afternoon, and they are not done daily. They're done like maybe Monday and Wednesday you'll have foreign language, and then Tuesday and Thursday you'll have music. It's done that way. And it's possible that those are also done in blocks of time, possibly for a whole season. The child will be working on a particular musical instrument, and then another season he may either do a different musical instrument, or maybe he'll move on to a different subject area entirely. And I'm pretty sure that foreign language occurs the entire year. Then there are the other subjects. Basically, it is reading, and writing, literature, arithmetic, so math, and then science and history. And those 4 different subjects tend to be done as unit studies, or rather main lessons. I call them unit studies. Main lessons, which are similar to unit studies in that you're focusing on that particular subject area for a period of time. And the slight difference between a unit study and a main lesson is that for a main lesson, you're not necessarily attempting to get all the other subjects included, although that is a nice perk when it does happen, and the Waldorf curriculum tends to work out that way within the year. There's a lot of like foreshadowing or overlap with some subjects. But with a unit study, you're a little bit more conscious of trying to get all the subjects into that unit study. So you might pick a particular topic and try to bring in your math to kind of relate to that topic. Or even if it's something simple, like suppose it's a younger student and the topic is dinosaurs, then maybe your math is dinosaur related or word problem related with dinosaurs. And then your history is maybe talking about some of the first scientists who discovered dinosaurs, and maybe that time period, and maybe that the geography of that area. And then maybe your language arts has to do with writing about the dinosaurs, or maybe your spelling has to do with some of the terms used in that part of science. So that's kind of more like with the unit study approach, you're trying to kind of bring everything in. However, the main lesson is a little bit different. You're going pretty deep into a particular subject area, but your approach is actually very different. The approach for a Waldorf school tends to relate to the child and what the child can see and feel and observe, rather than something that the child can't, in the younger years, that is. So you will begin with material that the child can first understand in relation to him or herself before actually understanding the material. That way the material isn't as abstract. That's the first kind of difference. So dinosaurs aren't really discussed with the young student. And when the student is doing astronomy, which I want to say is 5th or 6th grade, you're not learning about what the different planets are composed of, or the how long a day is on a different planet. You're mostly looking at the constellations because that's what a child can see. You're looking at the different orbital patterns and the day and the night and those kinds of things, because that's what a child can observe. So there is a different methodology for the main lesson units or main lesson studies in a Waldorf school. And also the material is approached in a different way, and it's the information is going to be different. So you might do the same topic, like for instance, we are doing geology this year, and geology is a little bit different than mineralogy as what you would find in a Waldorf curriculum. And so there's some differences in some of the topics that we would discuss. Like in geology, you'll talk about the different layers of the earth, but in mineralogy you won't, because you can't see beyond the crust level layer of the earth. So you're not going to go into something that you can't see. And this is, up for discussion. You might like it, you might not, but I'm just telling you the difference. Okay, so the way we do, let me also explain something in a Waldorf school, which I completely forgot, and overlooking this point really confused me for many years in my homeschool. But basically it's how you get to working on your math on a daily basis and your language arts on a daily basis, because if you're only doing those in unit studies, then you're going to be missing a lot of that information, or you're going to miss the opportunity to practice what you've learned. And in a Waldorf school, there are a lot of opportunities for little lessons that occur daily to keep that material proficient. So for math, there'll be mental math, and that's when you will just do a series of questions. And this is especially easy and helpful with your students at home, because instead of calling out one question and having a group of 30 students, and you may only have the opportunity once in a week to answer the question, even though everybody's working on them in their head. In a homeschool, you can ask every one of those mental math questions, and then the student has to answer them. So things like a fourth times 5 plus 2, or 5 times 8 minus 14, or 0.2 times 3 plus 0.6. So all these kinds of questions would happen. So if it's a decimal question, it will happen. Those kind of oral mental math questions will happen that same year, or the year after, or even 2 years after that material has been covered. And it's mental math, so you have to hold that question in your head, and it's usually a 2-part question, and then you have to compute it and then answer it. So this is a really great way to get 5 or 6 questions, or less than 10 questions in a day, over 5 days in the week. And by the end of the year, that's a really big number of questions. I think over 1,000 questions. And then the same with language arts. You could be doing something in a journal, for instance, to write something on a daily basis. And that way you're keeping that skill sharp. And there's actually a lot of writing that occurs every day for your main lesson anyway, and so that's a lot of other opportunities to keep those skills fresh. In our homeschool, we alter our approach a little bit, because we can't do the main lesson that is recommended for each of the grade levels, because if you're homeschooling 2 or 3 kids, that would be 2 or 3 main lessons every day, and that would just take up too much time. So we choose one main lesson, and it's going to be for all of the kids involved, which is too bad, because I really like the sequence of main lessons in a Waldorf curriculum. So that's a little bit about the difference between, like, say, a unit study approach and a main lesson approach. And we also do a lot of these smaller daily lessons to keep some of those other skills sharp, and also so that we can introduce other things that only take a few minutes every day. We always read out of one chapter out of one novel every day of the homeschool year. It could be a classic or historical fiction or just some other book, but we've been doing that since the very beginning. So that's a lot of books that you can get through if you're just reading one chapter a day. And that's something that doesn't take very long, depending on the book. It could take, anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes, but it's something that's done on a daily basis, that's separate from the main lesson or separate from the unit study. Okay, so if you've got any questions, please let me know about them in the comment section below. All right, thanks for watching.